It's Malika Manina once again with the Trulogy podcast, where your old self died and your new self resurrect. And yes, I'm coaching with a purpose. And today I have Henrietta Curtis with me. So before we get started, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Henrietta?
Um, my name is Henrietta Curtis. From Baton Rouge. I'm the mother of two. One of my kids are deceased, my son. I have 5 grandkids, and I'm a preschool teacher.
Preschool teacher. What's it like working with little bitty kids, girl?
It can be real hectic sometimes.
Most definitely.
Most definitely, but it's all love.
It is. I remember seeing, and I pay attention to your social media. We've been knowing each other for quite some time, for some years, but we've been kind of apart. And I guess our connection has been keeping up with each other on social media or running across each other wherever we may be, in the grocery store or in the mall or wherever. But not just that, we always knew how to contact each other, right?
Right.
So we were going to hit each other up to find out what's going on or to support each other.
Yes.
Which is always a great thing. I feel that true friends are friends forever, and we're more like family.
Right.
I've watched you really go through a whole lot of things over the years. Some of those times I was able to be there and be very supportive. Yeah. And some of those times I was going through some of the same similar situations.
Yeah.
I saw you posting Lucy.
Oh, right.
So precious. She seems to be the apple of your eye the time you would post Miss Lucy. And I used to look forward to seeing you posting about your stories with Lucy. Yeah. Let's talk about your grandkids.
I have 5. Dania's nickname I gave her is Lucy. Janila is the second to the oldest, and I call her Jazzy. And then we got Marlon. And I call him Doobie. We have DC. His name is Damon.
Yeah, after his dad.
Mm-hmm. And I have Rose Marie, who I call Cookie.
I love how you gave them all their nicknames.
Yeah.
That is so cute. I did the same with my children. And I did it based on their character. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the character of our boys. You know, over the years, I enjoy being a mother. I enjoyed my girls, like dressing them up in fashion, putting them in dance, being a dance mom, you know, traveling everywhere, watching for competitions, getting their hair done, getting the nails done, like all the girly things. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed that. When it came to my boys, I was always concerned with them being out in the community with all of the things that happens when it comes to our young African American males. Mm-hmm. And I always was extra protective of them because of that, right? It's one thing to be in the country, to live in the country, but in the city of Baton Rouge, where crime is running rampant. Rapidly. And, you know, people are here today going to march, especially our young African American males. And so I always really, I don't want to say sheltered them, because I allowed them to have opportunities, of course, and to do things. But I was always very concerned. I was constantly praying for them that God would be their covering, because I would constantly hear the news or hear these horror stories of somebody losing their child. And one day, a few years ago, I was able to experience that. I was able to, and it wasn't by choice, of course. Is it ever?
No. Mine wasn't by choice either.
I was completely caught off guard. You know, it's different, like if you have a sick child, or somebody is sick in your family, or that you're living such a life of crime, that you're out there robbing people or stealing or, you know, selling drugs on the corner, doing things that could, fighting, doing things that could really end your life, right? Living that kind of fast, crazy lifestyle, that's one thing. But when you're being as close to what you know how to be, either a law-abiding citizen or somebody that has had maybe a run-in with the law and changed their life, changed their perspective. I've done the time, and now I'm gonna change my life. I'm coming out. I'm gonna have a fresh start. I want a family. I want to do X, Y, Z. And it seems like that's super hard for people to do because society still perceived them as who they were before they went to jail. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, with my son was always, he was lovable, he was likable. As he got up in the ages, like teenagers, he was protector, a protective of whoever or whomever he was around. So he chose what some people will call the street life. To be totally honest with you, I was afraid of always getting that call. It's probably sad to say, but I always would say to myself, I never said to anyone that I was absolutely glad that my son was in jail, because I thought that he had a longer chance of living. And to go forward a little bit, I said when he got murdered, I said I would rather take him being in jail than him gone.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, I heard you say that, and you walked on it lightly, but this is a very, very safe space, and we're going to have some really deep discussions about how we feel. And so what I heard you say is it was a blessing almost to you that he was locked up, because you didn't have to worry about if he was going to get killed by the streets.
The street.
He was more protected in prison than to be
somewhat.
Yeah. Somewhat. Right?
Yeah.
And that it's just a tough place to be, to have your son in prison and to have those feelings. And I know in your mind you were thinking like, these feelings might not be good for me to have, but you worried about them.
Absolutely.
You worried about them. I prayed regularly. Lord, cover my sons. Cover my sons. We have this intuition. When our children would do wrong, I know you have it too.
Right.
When something is not right, we know.
We know. It's like, we know.
When did you figure out something wasn't right?
That day, that morning that he got killed, or just in general?
In general.
I think he was about 7 or 8. He was going to elementary school. And the neighbor knocked on the door. And he said my son had jumped on his son. It's like, okay, to me, I was like, the boys being boys, you're knocking on my door, what you
What do you want me to do?
But it was, from what I got from the mothers that was at the bus stops with their children, that it was like different. And I was thinking about that the other day when I talked to one of my friends. She told me when my son was about 10 years old, she said, that boy, she said her words was, that boy right there, he gonna be a killer.
So let's talk about what was your reaction?
Mm-hmm.
Because this podcast, the whole reason for us sitting here talking is for other women to be able to heal from the place where they are.
Right, absolutely.
Also, for us to gain some wisdom and insight, because we didn't have all of the best parenting skills, right? As we lived longer, we got a little better at it.
Yeah.
It's almost like riding a bike, right?
Right.
Yeah, practice a little more. And unfortunately, you know, I know for myself, I can speak for myself. I was a mom at a young age. And so I didn't have all the answers, but I did my very best with what I had.
Yeah.
Right? And there were some things that I couldn't avoid happening. Oh. You could talk. You could chastise. You could, you know, have those conversations. You could give consequences.
Yeah.
But you still had no control over the reactions when they were outside of your eyesight.
There's no end result, maybe in my son because he's no longer here, but I still give all that I got. Do I question my motherly skills? I did.
How'd you feel in that moment whenever you said someone told you that he would be like a killer?
She said, that boy right there gonna be a killer.
How did you feel when they said that? Were you in denial? What was your reaction?
I was like, I think I said to her, shut up. And she said, you know, she was called me by my last name. She was like laughing and said, Curtis, and through the years, when my son started to, like, he got worse. He got worse in his
When
behavior.
You say worse, what kind of behavior?
His behavior problems, like fighting, and it's like he was addicted to like having guns.
So do you think that if there was an intervention out in the community to be able to help him through those challenges, do you really think that things would have been different?
Absolutely would have been different.
So you were a single mom then?
I was a single mom.
Doing it by yourself, raising a boy? By myself.
Raising a boy. And when he was younger, I remember him telling me, he used to always want his dad to be in his life, and I know I can't fault his dad for what he did, because there are some great young men without that never even laid eyes on their dad.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But I can honestly say that my son, he wanted to have a relationship with his dad.
Yeah. If you can say something right now to any dad out there who is not with their children and don't want to be with their children, based on your experience with your son having a lack of the dad being in life, what would you say?
I can cut you off on that question, because I would absolutely say get in your son's life.
Yeah.
I don't care what situation you're in. I don't care if you don't have the money. That's all they need.
Yeah.
That's all they need. And that was like a, what is it, a yearning or a longing for it. He wanted that.
Yeah.
He wanted that. And he just had, and then when he started having a relationship with his dad, he had a hate for him. Like saying stuff like, I don't need him now. I don't need him around me now. You know, he used to call him all kind of names.
It was resentment.
Oh, yeah.
Resentment.
My son was really resentful. Like, he fought his dad and he stabbed his dad up and everything.
Would you agree that sometimes when it comes to relationships between a young man and their father, there's sometimes a challenge because of whatever personal relationship was between the mother
Right.
and the father.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Sometimes the absence of the dad is due to that. Was that the case with you?
The case with what happened with me and my son in the relationship with his dad, I just don't know. I remember being pregnant. I remember giving birth. I remember him saying it wasn't his kid. I remember going to court. I remember getting the judge reading the results, and I remember his dad, the mom's dad, saying to the judge that the test results was wrong.
Oh my God.
So when I got old,
how old was he? Was the baby?
mom was like a little boy.
Was he there?
No, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Okay.
And he always did, to be totally honest with you, he didn't give him what he needed.
And would you say that was a result of a lot of his anger?
Yeah.
Did he talk to you about that?
When he was younger, he did.
Yeah.
Now, as he got older, he started to build a relationship. Like his last time out of prison, he would have a relationship. Had his own relationship.
With his dad?
With his dad.
How old was he then?
27, 28, 29.
So he spent the majority of his childhood without his dad?
With my mom and with me.
With you and your mother?
Yeah.
Without his dad?
Without his dad.
And always bringing to your attention how much he wanted to be with his dad.
Yeah.
And then he got to a point that he was angry and said he didn't need him.
No, he was real angry. Like he tried to... I remember him stabbing his dad up. Like it's in his teenage years.
Tell me about that day.
Like I don't actually know because I wasn't there. I just know that when my son did come to the house, I was living on 72nd, and my son said, I just stabbed that B was up. And I say, what are you talking about? And he said...
His name?
He said his name.
Mm-hmm. How did you feel in that moment? As a mom, how did you feel?
I felt like my son was really angry. Like I just was telling him, like, you wrong. Don't do, that's your daddy.
What did you do to get support with that situation?
I never did. I always just been there for him. Through it all, I just been there. And I never denied of telling my kids when they was wrong. I always told them when they was wrong.
Yeah.
I always told my kids when they were wrong. I still tell my daughter, and she's grown and she's married, when you're wrong, you're wrong. But he had a lot of, when I think back on my son, had a lot of hurt. And I remember from the times that he did go over to his dad's house and the wife, he would always have more good to say about the wife than he did the dad, and I don't understand that. But I never got in the middle of it. I never asked him, like, what happened? He said this, he said that, because I knew that my son had he was just angry. Like, with me, I grew up with a lot of anger in me.
Let's talk more about that. So, what was your childhood like? Because I remember, and I remember a lot of things from my grandmother. I know you remember a lot of things from your grandma. I remember a lot of things from your
I
grandmother.
remember a
Miss Banks
lot
was
of things
amazing.
from my grandmother, but I don't remember a lot of things about me as childhood. I don't remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't remember none of those ages. 6, 7, 8. I don't remember that. I can say I remember going from Greenville Elementary School, 4th, maybe 5th grade, and that's it.
So let's fast forward past the things that you don't remember, and let's go to the year 1991. I remember
Still not a good year.
the field.
Not 90. 91 was a good year for me. Because that's the year I gave birth to my son.
Yeah, we had children around the same age.
I lived up and you lived down. And they used to always ask me, were we sisters?
Mm-hmm.
And
people would ask that all the time.
Yeah, and I don't know, it was just
I remember
it was good.
It was good. It was good.
I remember your baked chicken. With the spices.
I still make good baked chicken.
Oh, you can cook. And I remember that. I remember you always being so nice and so kind. I remember that.
What else do you remember?
I remember your husband then.
Mm-hmm. He was cool.
I remember that. I remember that your daughter. I remember the twins.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I met my sister-in-law.
And so it was one of the twins that was murdered. That is the one thing that I did not think that we would be talking about today. Right. That we would have in common that we lost a child due to murder, to violence. Mm-hmm. My son was a father.
My son just like was the mom.
Mm-hmm. And he went to the store. He was talking to his sister a bit earlier before that on the phone. He told her that he wanted to make sure that he got a chance to see her dance. And she was super excited about it. He didn't come to Louisiana much. He left and went to the store. And there was a young man in the store. And they passed some words. And the young man followed him. It was two of them. Followed him in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. He was about 2 minutes from his house. And they pulled on the side of him. My son had a young lady with him. They both had gone to the store together. My son was driving. Young lady was on the passenger side. There was the young man that was with the gentleman that my son had the verbal altercation with was driving, and the young man was on the passenger side. The aggressor from the passenger side of the vehicle pulled out a gun, shot through at a red light, literally on the block of his apartments. They were in two different lanes, side by side. Pulled out a gun, shot past the driver, shot past the passenger in my son's car, and hit my son in the side. And he didn't survive. It was a day of my life that was forever changing because Alex and myself, my now husband and one of my closest friends, Samantha, we were doing karaoke that night.
Mm.
Smiling, laughing, having fun. Alex had just did a song. And I went to the bathroom and I left my phone on the table. And when I came out of the bathroom, the karaoke spot didn't have a whole lot of people there, in which we loved it because it was almost like we had the whole place to ourselves with maybe 8 or 9 other people and the barmaid and somebody else that was there. It was this little daiquiri shop that had karaoke there. And so we decided to go do karaoke. I don't do the club thing, or any of that anymore. But I will go somewhere that has a bar and go get food and listen to music and things like that. Live bands and things like that. And we went out there to sing. But something didn't feel right. Although I was jolly and smiling. I'm with my oldest daughter. I'm with, my now husband, which was my boyfriend then, and my best friend. And I go to the bathroom, girl, and came out. When I went in the bathroom, all those people, plus the people that were there, I told you, a handful of people that were there, they were all in there. When I came back, nobody was in there. Except the girl that was working behind the bar. I looked up and she said, they all went outside. I said, they all went outside. She saw me looking at the table and she said, he took your phone. I said, oh, okay. Which I would put my phone down all the time. And I still do. And he'll see me put my phone down. First thing I say, you got my phone? Because he's going to grab it and put it in his pocket. Right. Because I'm always putting my phone down somewhere. So it was not unusual for him to grab my phone for me. But it was something unusual about that moment.
Right.
I didn't know what it was, but I just had this empty feeling, and I could feel my heart rate moving a little different. And I didn't know why. I overlooked it. And I walked outside. I will never forget that walk from near the bathroom at that corner of the bar to that front door. I'll never forget that walk.
Wow.
When I opened the door, he opened the door. It was almost like at the same time. I was opening the door and he did this with my phone.
Oh, wow. He didn't know.
And I said, what? And I looked, you know how you look at the call ID, and it was my twin son. And I said, hello. And what was on the other end changed my life forever. That was the last thing that I ever thought I would get a call about. And there was some moments I could relate to you not remembering certain things. And sometimes when people go,
Pardon me.
Sometimes when people go through traumatic situations in their life, it hinder you from remembering.
Yeah.
Right?
I used to want to remember
that little block. Yeah. I kind of want to. I remember from the walk to finding out, and then I don't remember anything else except being on the passenger side of my car, and he was driving with the door open, and I looked up, and everybody who was in that building was almost like in a semicircle around my car, and the karaoke DJ was kneeling. My door was halfway open, like your door could be open with your foot out. And she was kneeling in between, holding my hand. And I remember her saying, my name is Andrea, and if you ever need me, I'm here. I want to be here. She didn't know me from the man on the moon.
Right.
Did not know me. She met us that night. But everybody there, including the security guard, was all out there.
Oh, wow.
Sympathizing and being there for us. And it just so happened that my next to the baby son was down the street in Perkins Row. And I was on the corner of Bluebonnet
Okay.
and Airline. He was in Perkins Row. So further down Bluebonnet. And all I could think about is I needed to get to him before they called him. I'm thankful that God has healed me in a place of being able to forgive. Right?
That's it.
When I would hear the name Jamal, that was my son's killer, I would get angry. I would want to break something. I felt resentment. At one point, I didn't feel sorry for him. I wanted the worst of the worst. I hated him. I actually can say that I hated him. I felt hatred towards him. I didn't want to.
Right.
But I did.
Right.
My strength came in as I began to pray.
Right.
As I began to think about his life and the fact that he's got a son. And when I think about decisions that we've made in our life, we may not have made a decision to kill somebody.
Right.
But we made a decision that really hurt somebody.
Right.
And we've made decisions that really hurt families. I know I have.
I know I have too. I can relate to you when you said I hated him. But I never hated the guy that killed my son. I was angry at him, but I hated my son's baby mother. Because the way that my son got killed is because his baby mama, whom was his fiance, they had the type of relationship Tina and I.
Toxic.
Real toxic. But I never took sides. I always have and always will be the type of mother to tell their child, whether they was little bitty infants or grown with children, you wrong. And on the morning of February the 13th, my son was at my house as he had been there for 2 or 3 days, and he had like go, and I think he went back and he came back 2 or 3 days, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay out their business because he ain't do it, but go back over there anyway, He was there on the sofa in the front, and I remember him getting up and looking on the tablet that was connected to these little, they have these little security cameras. And he had this one camera that will face will be in the front window, but it will face the road. And he said, I'm not going to use the language that he used.
Yeah.
He said, basically was saying another man was at his house. He was about to go over there. And I said, don't go. What if something happened? And I said, what if something happened to your children?
He was angry at this point.
Oh, he was furious. He was angry. He was furious, and he was dead ass gone. Ain't no other way to put that. He was gone.
Yeah.
So I said, you don't need to go. What if something happened to you? What if something happened to your children? I just got to talking to him. He left out. No, he brought the tablet and he showed me the guy's car parked in the yard. It wasn't, I don't even think it was 30 minutes later. I had called my daughter because she wasn't answered. She went to get him. I had then called his baby's mother. Told her that he was on his way. Get him out the house. I don't know if I said he got one gun or he got two guns. He on his way. I just need, basically, he on his way. You know? And I remember calling my sister. I remember calling my brother. I was calling everybody to go and get him. Because, you know, we as mothers, like you said, we just know. I didn't know it was going to be to that extent, but I just knew. And when I wasn't getting those calls, when I was calling, my daughter, she wasn't answering those calls, excuse me, when she wasn't answering those calls, and when she answered, I didn't give her a chance to say hello. I said, where my boy at? And she said, Mama, this then killed your boy. Killed my
Your
brother.
daughter said that?
Yeah, she found him dead.
Your daughter found her brother dead?
Yeah.
In his yard? In
his yard. Like the old folks used to say, stretched out like Jesus Christ. So when I talked to my daughter, I was on the way. And I mean on the way with what I had on. Big mama roll, nothing under it, and some fuzzy slippers. And if nothing else broke my heart, that broke my heart. That broke my heart. Now, I ain't gonna say it broke me to the core, because the core of me is still here, only by the grace of God.
I'm so glad that you said that, because let's talk about brokenness. So this past week, although I know and understand that even out of bad situations, good things can come out of it, right? This week, I had an opportunity to sit and hear such a dynamic message that talked about brokenness. And I've had conversations with people and discussions, and we talked about things being crushed and broken and what happens in that process. So just to make this more relatable, before a plant can blossom, that seed got to be broken and then watered and then nurtured.
Oh, but how I know that?
Right. And so even from, I hear people say broken crayon still color. You know? Even out of brokenness, there could be good things. So, and coming from a broken place and having so many experiences, not one that could compare to losing the son and that moment that I can truly relate to, right?
Right.
But thinking about what I've seen when it comes to you and why I chose you to be on the Trulogy was because you have a story. Not just the fact that you have a story, but I've watched a transformation from that neighbor that lived above me. I recall your boyfriend was killed. I remember the fine drop top vehicle. I remember hearing the news, right?
Right.
Him being killed in his own apartment. I remember us going to the clubs, and there wasn't a time that me, you, your brother, your sister, and my sister could be there at the same time, and there wasn't a fight breaking out. And in one fight, everybody fight.
Yeah.
I remember all of those days that the times that we were trying to find ourselves. I watched you try to find yourself. Even when I got to a place in my life that whatever those things in life that I was attached to that I did not want to be attached to anymore. And I look at the people that I was attached to and that were my friends. Some people are still the same way. But whenever I look at you, I see so much growth and so much progress. Even in what you've been through, I see joy now.
Yeah.
I hear you react to things differently. I know people that would say, Henrietta gonna cuss you out. Because you had just the most creative way to cuss somebody out and make them feel this little.
Yeah.
But I've watched you react differently to people.
Yeah.
Now.
I had to learn in my life, not in life, because everybody is different.
Yeah. Everybody.
That in my life, I was my own worst enemy.
Would it be true to say that you was in your own way?
Oh, I was dead ass in my own way.
Yeah.
I was.
How?
How?
I
can remember being from the ages of going to middle school to high school. Don't ask me nothing. Don't say nothing to me. I ain't gonna. You get 2 words out. I'm just gonna start tearing you up. I was horrible. I can remember being in jail sometime, and I would go to jail cutting up, and get in jail and still cut up. I would get mad at people for watching TV and turning the TV up because I wanted to go to sleep, and I started acting a fool. I remember going places, and if I would see somebody that I didn't like, what the kids say, oh, what's up? I was horrible.
So everybody has an opportunity to change their life and to change their view in life. And so what I'm hearing you saying is that you have a different perspective. You're looking at things now in a different way because there was a time that there was no progress because you looked at things in your way.
In my way.
Only your way.
Only my way.
So where do you see yourself going from here?
Bigger, better, blessings. on top of blessings, on top of blessings. Because now that I know that I am a blessing, regardless of whatever I've been in or through, I'm a blessing.
How are you planning to be a blessing to others?
Well, I've been sharing my story lately on forgiveness. That's what I call it, my story on forgiveness. Because I chose.
Yeah.
I chose to forgive the man that killed my one and only son.
Come on.
And how? They say, how did you do it? In order for you to do something, you gotta want to do it.
Come on. That's good.
In order for you to want that car, knowing that you don't have enough to get it, you got to want to save to get it. And that's something that I want for myself. I want to, when I leave this world, one day, I want people to say great things about me. And the only way they're going to say great things about me is that I have to be great. And I don't want to just to be known as that one lady who done something just one time great in her life. Just one time great in her life. I want to be known for doing great things.
Yes.
I want to leave an impression upon my grandkids. I don't want my grandkids to be somewhere and people say, aren't you Henrietta, granddaughter? Your grandmother used to do this and she used to do that and she used to fight and I want them to say, oh, that's Henrietta, granddaughter. That little girl that she got a heart anything like her grandma. She good people.
Yeah.
I want her to go somewhere to get a job and I want them to say, oh, you Henrietta, granddaughter? Oh, come on, baby. You ain't got to fill out no application. You got that job. Your grandmother did great things.
Yeah.
Not, oh, that's Henrietta, granddaughter, girl. You remember she used to, I don't want her working here. Your name carries a lot of weight. And when your name carry a lot of weight and you carry a lot of hatred, the weight of it wears you down. Sometimes you even become unbalanced with it. So I want to be known as who I am now.
Yeah.
But I'm not ashamed of who I used to be because that's who made me who I am. I want to change for self. The only way I got it is through having faith in the living God.
Yes. Yes.
Praying to the Son of God. I be riding to work sometimes and I just say to myself, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I teach my grandkids how to be respectable, how to love one another. Most definitely, let's just be real about it, to take up for one another.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's showing
but
support.
I want my grandkids to have the life where they can remember when I couldn't, at the ages that I can't remember. Do I desire to remember? No, because God blocked things for reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, just a scenario. I'm leaving, I make a right turn, and the man just pull out in front of me, and then somebody hit his truck, but he don't even get injured. I don't question that no more. God blocked things for reasons. There's a reason for everything that happened in our life, there's a reason. Some say it's for the good, some say it's for the bad. I say it's for the better, because I get better and better and better. And I know this because they say practice make perfect. Well, it does. But praying bring on miracles.
Amen. That's good. I will say it's been a pleasure talking to you today about your life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more to come with that as we're going to dig deeper and deeper. In my conversation with you, you're really good with talking. We've shared that conversation that you want to have your own podcast show. And I think it's a great, great idea. It's coming from your heart because you want to talk more about these things,
Yes.
more about the things that's going to help people break free from the bondage that they're in because of their past. Right? And I think that's very important. There's many times we want to sweep under the rug the experience and people just see the outside and don't know what happened on the inside. But when we find value in those life experiences, whether they were good or bad, and we find value and we can apply it to our life, we gain wisdom. And as we gain wisdom, like the old people used to say, when you know better, you do better.
Right.
When we begin to do better and walk differently, get out of our own way, gain some strength.
Right.
Get up and go about yourself.
Yeah, learn how to shut up, be quiet sometimes.
Yeah, and listen more.
Yeah, you got Okay, she didn't say this to me. Okay.
And apply. We gotta apply these things to our life.
Right.
But you said the key ingredient. You said God.
That's number one.
God. And that has been the key ingredient for you to be able to forgive. And at the moment you begin to forgive, you broke free from bondage.
I'm free. I'm free. I sleep good. I eat good. I treat people right. And I'm not ashamed of my past, because my past made me the woman I'm going to be a greater woman in the future.
You will be.
Better. I am.
You will be. And listen, I will be dedicated to support your every move. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what Henrietta Curtis has in store. Looking forward to your amazing podcast. Looking forward to all of the things. Guys, stay tuned for more from Henrietta Curtis. I see her with a book. You can remember, I said it first here on the Trulogy podcast. I see her writing a book. Get ready for a best-selling author. Get ready for this podcast. Get ready for all of the great things that's going to come out of this great woman. You too can be great. Break free from all of those things that are holding you bondage, that's holding you captive. You can be whoever you choose to be in life. You just have to believe in yourself first. Forgiveness is the key. You are not your past. Your past can consume you only if you allow it to. If you want an opportunity to grow, all it takes is putting one foot in front of the other. But only things that you do for Christ will last. I truly believe it. You heard it here on the Trulogy podcast, where the old self dies and the new self resurrects. I'm Malika Manina. Stay tuned.